Yes. You ready? But like how you play the love song, them are lead into the yes. Because when they talk about the candidate, they say he's the sexy candidate. So we play some asthmatic music. That's why I'm saying it for you, my friend. Right. So today we have in studio, religion in the Serbia. Yeah, take long to introduce the guests though. Okay. President.
Yes.
Amen. Hallelujah. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
Welcome to the 2 Live crew.
Thank you.
I hope you survive us because the live in the name has a meaning.
And good afternoon to your listeners as well.
Now give me him next name. Now give me next. Of course, this the following is a sponsored interview by the Rise United campaign. First question I want to ask. Welcome.
Thank you.
Peter, but everybody is asking why. Why now? Why at this time? Why run for president?
Well, quite simply, the party was at a low ebb following the East Portland by-election. We, for the last, pretty much for the 3 years since 2016, we have not regained the sort of popularity. We've not regained the momentum, and I think the East Portland lost of perhaps our 8th or 9th strongest seat, a seat we'd held continuously since 1989, and usually by very large margins. I think that was a wake-up call for a lot of us, and we realized that something had to be done, or we were heading for, almost certain defeat at next general elections. So that's why we, after discussions, we decided that, we would challenge.
No, it's the time. So today we want to give people a little insight into who Peter Bunting is. What kind of music you like listening to?
Easy listening, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Reggae, jazz, not anything that's too jarring. I like to,
You know, for fling your shoulder. Why me I push it? No, I'm for fling shoulder. Come on, shoulder for fling.
Well, you.
Approval. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Peter Bunting is really a farm boy. I grew up on a dairy farm, spent most of my childhood running up and down barefoot, riding horses and, driving cows, milking cows, being a sort of sidekick to my father and elder brothers who at various points all worked on the farm. Then my father had a very strong or put a very strong emphasis on education. In his mind, that was how you improve yourself in life. He had got a high school education, which was good in his day, but he wanted his children to go to get tertiary education, and I was the first in the family to actually get a university degree.
Okay.
So my brothers went to agricultural college, sort of associate degree level, and my sister similar with business, but I was the first one to get a bachelor's and a master's degree in the family, and I think that was very important to him, and justified sending me to boarding school for 8 years.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because I think sometimes because of what you've accomplished and who you are, people think, oh God, when this uptown man here, him a go now. Him can't connect to the Jamaican people them on a grassroots level. What is your response to that? Given the background that you've just shared with us.
Well, as I said, where people tend to look at where you are now and project a personality and project a sort of history to you, which can be very far from the truth. But the truth is that my younger days growing up, I was, you know, very down to earth. You know, didn't enjoy a lot of the
Privileges.
things, the privileges.
Yeah.
And not just because, you know, our family couldn't afford it, because the truth of the matter, during the course of my lifetime, my father did better and better in life. He started working as an employee on a farm for 9 shillings a week, and by the time, you know, I was an adult, he was able to buy his own farm and had done very well for himself. But even though he made that transition during his lifetime, my mother in particular had come from a very modest background, and so she always maintained that frugality, even when it probably wasn't necessary. You know, I remember trying to persuade my mother, you know, that when Jonjo start growing the bread, throw it away, you know.
And she said, "Can make bread pudding?"
And she would be like, you know, shake her. You either toast it or you make bread pudding with
yes,
it. You know?
Man.
And you know, when I was a child, I prayed that my feet didn't grow too fast during the course of the school year, because my mother didn't like buying a second pair of shoes.
It will wear a year. It will wear a year.
You know, it must last you.
Yes.
And she had an option of cutting out the toe so that your toes could go through the front, and that was not fun at all. You know, little children get very embarrassed very easily. So. No, both parents have passed. My father passed from 93 and my mother in 2013. And in a sense, there's some irony in terms of my father passing in January 93, because I think much of my interest in politics came from listening to him speak about Norman, Manley and Buster, Southeast, which then became Southeast and Southwest. But it was a seat that Buster Manty represented.
Okay.
And my father always going to Buster meeting and being pointed out as one of the only 3 PNP in the community. And, you know, the rest of the crowd turning on him and having to make a quick escape on his bicycle.
Oh, Lord.
So he was always, and then he was also a big fan of Michael Manley when Michael Manley took over the PNP, and he served. And he was chairman of the Agricultural Development Corporation in the 70s. I remember as a child, maybe a young 13, 14-year-old, we had Raul Castro visited our farm. He was the Minister of Agriculture in Cuba at the time. And when he came to Jamaica, we had one of the cutting edge dairy parlors, a rotary herringbone parlor, and it was the only part of its kind in this hemisphere.
Wow. And
so when he visited and wanted to see where technology was going in agriculture at the time,
that's where
he came and visited. So we were very, you know, exposed from
early
to politics. And I believe I chose Southeast Clarendon, which was an unusual seat given that it was considered a JLP safe seat. It had never been won in history by the PNP. I chose that as my first foray into representational politics. I think largely trying to give my father a PNP MP for the first time in his life.
Okay.
And he passed 2 months before
it
I was
happened.
elected. Yes.
Yes. Talk to me about your vision for the party, because I'm listening to your personal experience and the path that it's taken you. How does that impact the way you see the future of Jamaica and the vision for the party and the country?
Well, I think I have, probably because growing up in a relatively poor rural area, sugar and agriculture was all that was around in the 60s and 70s. I have a sense of what a transition, the economic transition from a sort of commodity-based economy to one that needs to evolve into the creative industries, much more technology, IT-oriented, service-oriented. And I see the literal devastation of the economy of Southern Clarendon as the sugar industry has fallen away.
Right.
I think I recognize that, you know, new approaches to agriculture, just as in my own family, we transitioned away from dairy farming to fish farming. And my brother now, unlike my father, who I used to ride around the farm with on a horse, and used to do things very much how it had been done traditionally. My brother now, he's in his pickup on the dikes of the ponds. He has his laptop open. He can tell you all the data about his ponds, the water quality, the feed conversion ratios, the optimal stocking densities, etc. So I have an appreciation of how we have to transition the economy using modern technology, particularly in agriculture, if we're to take up a lot of the labor, the employment that has been lost,
and the opportunities that are available globally.
Correct.
So we have.
And well, it's certainly in terms of my family background. Also, I think being in finance, banking and finance, and especially when I started, I was the I was in the corporate banking unit at Citibank. And very early in my career, I managed the accounts of companies, conglomerates really, like Grace Kennedy, Pan Jamaican Investment Trust, Jamaica Broilers Group. And it gave me, an opportunity to study and do the credit analysis of so many companies in so many sectors that, it really gave me an insight into a wide cross-section of the Jamaican economy. And I think, probably more than most, I have a good sense of what is involved. And of course, I think my stint as a shadow minister first and then Minister of National Security, then in a sense gave me that balance of not just looking at things from the economy side, but looking at it really from the human cost of a lopsided economy. Which is, one of the reasons why today people would probably not expect, as a former Minister of National Security, that I might be seen as something of a dove in terms of national security, and that I am not for this suppression of crime approach, because I've been there and I've seen that it doesn't work. It's not sustainable. I'm really for investment in the human capital. And we have to go into our inner city communities, improve the housing stock, the infrastructure, the garbage collection,
just the standard of living in general.
Just the standard of living. We have to invest in the schools. I mean, we have an apartheid educational system. And until we get that right, we will always be struggling against violent crime.
Before you go, I want to ask you something critical. It's Rise United.
Correct.
There's a thinking that after these contests, whether at the presidential level or vice presidential level, there's a splintering of people in any party. United is the challenge for you, Peter Bunting. At the end of this, if you are successful, how does the PNP move forward as a united entity?
Well, we've been conscious of that from day one, which is why we chose Rise United, because we recognize come September, the morning of September 8th, we must rise united, or at least be heading towards that unity. I was General Secretary when we had the last serious presidential challenge, and it did create a rift, but we were able to overcome that and win the next general election by a landslide. So there is a formula, it can be done, but my own view is that people tend not to unite for unity's sake. They unite around a common purpose. They must have something that transcends the petty differences that we all have. Exactly. So I think the challenge of leadership is to articulate that vision that creates a transcendent purpose in the movement that allows us to work together, notwithstanding, even though we may not like some things about each other, but what binds us together is stronger than what divides us.
All right, that's a great way to wrap this up. Yes, Berger? I said that's a great way to wrap it up. What you call him? Bunting? Oh, go on, darling.
That's correct.
Next hope and present is in store for you. All the very best, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so
Okay.
much.
And of course, in the meantime, folks, the Jamaica Library Service invites you to become a member of the Friends of the Library group. Volunteer today and support your public library. Visit or call the nearest parish.
Thank you, Dahlia. Say hi to our friends.
It is now.
Phoebe, tell them thanks for watching.
Thanks everyone. Keep rising.
2 minutes of the leading stories for